Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Water Cooler. I am Sarah from Texas, and this is our place to chat all the latest reality TV gossip, Jeff Lewis Live, Jeff Lewis Extended. Okay, at the request, my head is going to cover it on the Facebooks and the YouTube and the Twitter feed. But I did add Jeff Lewis here on TikTok. I did add the mug back here on Instagram at Lisa's request. So shout out Lisa for saying, I want to see Jeff Lewis behind you again. Anyways, oh my gosh, I hope you're doing amazing. Oh, Michael Riley has joined us on YouTube at yesterday's request. I love it. I just want to say, I love our community. I love that we have found our people. I know every once in a blue moon, I let the mean people get to me, and I did earlier this week, but I have moved on and back to doing what I love. And when I think about like letting mean people ruin my day or ruin my moment or take away the excitement of chatting reality TV and Jeff Lewis Live with y'all, I'm like, what the fuck? Why would I do that? Anyway, so thank you. The best thing you can do is, just keep hanging out with me because it really does, keep me motivated. Just knowing that there are nice people that just think it's normal, which it is, to want to find your people and chat about things that you're interested in. You know what I mean? Like, that's what everyone wants to do in life. I mean, it's not like rocket science. There are clubs, there's communities, there's groups, there's Facebook groups. I mean, it's normal to want to find people. And I don't know about y'all. It is hard. There's a bazillion of us, but it is hard to find a Jeff Lewis listener fan in the wild. Like when I first started listening, I'd be like, oh my God, do you know Jeff Lewis? Oh yeah, I used to watch that show Flipping Out. I'm like, no, there's a radio show on 5 days a week. You know what I mean? And now it's on, for 2 hours, 5 days a week. There's so much always going on. So I love chatting with y'all. I love it. Christina says, what else am I going to do at 2:00? Exactly. Anyways. Okay. Let's get into it. A lot to chat about. Jeff is, hello, Pina. Hello, Chumpettes. The wiener talk, the dating talk, the texting talk. MJ kind of threw down a bomb at the very end of Jeff Lewis Extended. We will definitely hear about or chat about that. Okay. Larsa Pippen and Marcus Jordan is seen back together again at the beach. Who knows what's going on with them? Who sent it to me? Oh my gosh. I'm forgetting who sent it to me, but someone sent me a funny video that the Kim Kardashian clip where she's like, no one wants to work anymore. You know what I mean? And it was about referring to Larsa Pippen calling up Marcus saying, oh, hell no, we are not going to let Alexia's divorce outshine us next season. So we got to get back together. We got to do some. That was hilarious because I love that Kim Kardashian quote about, no one wants to work anymore. I still haven't watched Vanderpump Villa, and I'm literally not seeing anyone chat about it. Like, did nothing good happen? Is the show dying out? You know what I mean? It's so weird. I don't know. Last night, of course, I had to watch Vanderpump Rules, Vanderpump After Show. So we'll recap that in just a second. Real quick, Stacy oversees the Jeff Lewis merch website. I got to meet her, as a lot of us did, at the Jeff Lewis Live show in December. I think she's flying back in for the May 30th event. She'll be selling the merch, hanging out with us. JeffLewisMerch.com is where all of it's at. I think she's even adding like a zip up, like not a hoodie, but a zipper up with some merch on it today. So anyways, Mary Harding says Vanderpump Villa. Vanderpump Villa is not worth it. Empty and staged. I had such high hopes for that dang show. I really thought it was going to like take over Vanderpump Rules. I mean, Wait, what are you shooketh by, Melanie? What happened? Melanie says, I'm sorry I didn't say hello. I'm still a bit shooketh. And is that a tooth? Is that a kitty cat? What's going on, Melanie? Let us know. Yes, Robin. You know what? Message Stacy, because there are some. Robin says, I would love a chump necklace, but they're so expensive. I think there's gold ones. I think there's silver ones. And I think there's maybe a gold overlay one that's maybe a little less. I don't really know. Oh, car trouble. Melanie, I'm so sorry. Anyways, okay. Yeah, I know. Okay. Vanderpump Rules, episode 12. I finally watched it. I mean, I thought it was kind of unique that Lala hosted a sperm donor party, and that's where she had 3 different sperm donors and like the information about it. Lisa Vanderpump let her host it at her amazing what's her house called? Rose Villa Rose. Is that the name of her house? Anyways, it was really cool. Tom and Ariana, boy, this new assistant of Tom's, if he didn't add into the things that he needs to do to clean the freaking house, he needs to add Villa Rosa, thank you. He needs to add that in. I mean, poor Sheena and Brock had to come over and go through like months of stuff, like a Christmas present. This was August, a Christmas present laying around. There was cookies that were 3 months old. I mean, I don't know. I know they're busy, but you know, Vanderpump, the editors were kind of messy with showing, well, literally messy, but showing how messy their house is, right? Oh my goodness. And I mean, I'm assuming they can afford a housekeeper. They seem to be, I don't know, she seems to be doing really well. What did you think? I really had high hopes. I would love a Tom and Tom roommate situation again, whether one of them bought I do think it makes sense. I did love that Tom Sandoval was trying to tell him, hey, why don't you just move in here with me? And Tom was like, well, how much? He was like $6,000. I'm guessing, I don't know. I don't know what their house is worth. I don't know what they put down, the interest rate and all of that, if he would have to refinance. Clearly, interest rates have gone up lately or the last couple of years. But even Tom Schwartz, Schwartz, which you think of as being like, a infantile brain, he was even like, I just can't see putting $6,000 to something every month where I'm not, getting any equity and I'm not going to own the house, right? I'm sort of wondering with them having Schwartz and Sandy's, a tiny ownership of TomTom, Vanderpump Rules. I don't know that Tom Schwartz or Tom Sandoval are getting the offers. Like all the ladies are getting all these offers. It seems like, James Kennedy is doing really well. He's like going on tour. I think he was even in Texas recently or going to be in Texas for his DJing. So I'm assuming that's going well. But it seems like the ladies are really banking, right? Especially Sheena. I do agree. And y'all know, whatever. I have said for the longest time, I felt like Rachel and Tom got, nailed way too far for having the affair and all of that. But I do feel like Tom is right. I feel like Sheena, enough already. He even says a couple of times, way to keep cashing in on my misery. I agree. I feel like they've all cashed in on his misery, and he ain't making a damn extra dollar. And he's the one that freaking, I mean, I don't know that he should make money on it, but okay, if he made merch, would anyone buy it? I feel like they wouldn't, because it's like so controversial to say, God dang it, leave them alone. You know what I mean? But now we know, because I finally did listen to one episode because Joseph was on Rogue with Rachel or whatever. She's absolutely still watching Vanderpump Rules. She absolutely was talking about getting the shows sent to her early. So who is doing that? She absolutely talked about how the ratings are really good for season 11. Like she has her thumb on Vanderpump Rules. She is absolutely paying attention to it for sure. Mary says, and this is why this is our safe place to have all the opinions. I don't know. Tom was playing victim the other night. It made me sick. At this point on episode 12, it seemed like it was like August-ish. So from March, April, May, June, July, August, 5-ish months since, Scandival happened, all around him, he's seen all these people just not only make fun of him, but make hand over foot freaking cash on it, right? Send them to Daryl, the podcast, Sheena's podcast, having people on. He even says, fine, Sheena, but like, slow the roll on me. Like, and Sheena's like, well, that's all anyone wants to talk about. Well, then maybe your podcast shouldn't be called Shenanigans. Maybe you should have called it, Vanderpump Rules, because that is what you were doing to make all your money, was everything about Scandival. She admitted during the pandemic, her podcast, I think she said, was canceled. There wasn't a whole lot going on. And Sandoval even sent her some cash, like PayPal'd her some money to help her out. I'd never heard that story until it came up. He kept that on the quiet. He wasn't like raving about what a good guy he is. Julie says, Tom is correct. They would all have a lot to say if positions were reversed. But him as the bad guy makes it easy for them to cash in. I think it's wrong. I agree. And I don't even think he was as much of an asshole about it as most people would be. I mean, he was like, go get your bag. I get it. But at some point he was like, stop piling on. Like, you're just keeping this going. Whereas, he wasn't doing anything. Does he still have a podcast? OMG, I literally forgot. I mean, who doesn't have a podcast besides DJ Kennedy, James Kennedy? Wow, I felt like he had a podcast for a while, and I don't even know if he still does. Yeah, I agree, Louise. I don't think Ariana was such a saint like most people seem to think. Yeah, and she's sitting there saying on the show, like, I never did anything to Tom. I'm like, I know you never did anything. As in, you weren't clued into this relationship. Y'all had nothing in common, yet y'all kept it going for the cameras, I'm pretty sure. For the cameras, the ease, we're a couple on Vanderpump Rules. You've been with Daniel 10 days after y'all broke up. You know what I mean? Ariana has talent, Cecily says. I mean, she was not anything exciting. She and Katie in particular added zero to several seasons of the last few seasons of Vanderpump Rules. Does she have talent as far as like theater? Yeah, that was her theater major, I think. You know what I mean? I love this. Melanie says, I'm sorry, but James is a complete waste. I'm team Tom all day long. Ariana is so draining and using this to the max. When is it going to come out about James? Like, we have had now 2 girlfriends, Kristen, who he dated for a long time, and now Rachel, who have made serious accusations. Like, they didn't mince words about him in some domestic abuse. And that has just been like pushed down. Like, just wonder when that shit's going to come out. You know what I mean? Anyways, I love y'all's comments. Get comfortable over on TikTok. I don't see y'all saying anything. Y'all are just joining. If you love reality TV, Jeff Lewis, you are in the right place. Okay. What else? James really came at Sandoval, and then he like apologized, but he was just, they're all listening to the podcast, yet they won't say her name at all, right? So this was definitely Bethenny Frankel's Just Be podcast, where she interviewed Rachel like 2 or 3 different times, and then she made video clips of it, and then she did like another, she was really making some money off of Raquel. And we know now that Raquel wasn't paid anything for this, right? Or that we know of. Has anyone heard that she was paid for this podcast? Like, why didn't she go on what interview would you do? Barbara Walters has already passed away. You know, who's the equivalent of Barbara Walters anymore where they would pay for an interview? That knows. You gotta know. Just like someone said, like, didn't we learn anything from Howie Mandel? You gotta know about the people. You gotta be a fan. Like Bethenny just didn't know the ins and outs of the relationships, the friendships, the history, who dated, all that. You know what I mean? She was trying to make her podcast about, oh, the reality reckoning. They took advantage of you, all the things. Is Gayle King a Vanderpump Rules fan though? I just heard on today's Andy Cohen Live, which I always think is a tape, but it was, you know, him and John Hill. What's the show? I guess Gayle King had a show with Charles Barkley, and that was just canceled. Anyways, I just heard that. Mary says, I think James is funny. He's goofy, a little airheaded, yet he has a major soft spot. Yeah, but like, how is he getting away with these domestic abuse things? You know what I mean? Hold on, my phone was messing up. Okay, are we back on Instagram? Yeah, Cecily says they're just characters in my mind. Did I come back on Instagram? I had a call coming through and I got to see what that was. Anyways, what else? I didn't know that Allie didn't want kids, or maybe she doesn't want to be married. If there's anyone on Vanderpump Rules besides maybe Sheena always made it clear she's here for the wedding, she's here for the kids, all that. I just figured Allie would want to be married and have kids. I think she maybe doesn't see a future with her and James. I'm not really sure why she's living with him in Burbank. I wonder, does he pay everything? Do they split the rent or the mortgage, whatever it's called? Allie, Cecily says, how old is Allie? I feel like he just said last night she's like 28, right? I feel like that's what he just said. That's so true. At the wedding, Louise says, we saw Kristen hit James. Is it okay because she's a woman? No, it's absolutely not okay. But also, shoot, what was it recently? I literally can't think. Oh, Vanderpump Villa. I forgot all their names anymore. Where the girl went after and like pushed or shoved the guy, and they made it seem like she didn't get in trouble at all. I didn't like that at all. I talked about it. Cut the cameras on TikTok says Allie doesn't want kids with James. I wouldn't, right? Luke says, do you have a shrine to Jeff Lewis? I wouldn't call that a shrine. I mean, it's a shrine to all things necessarily. BravoCon, Poland Patrick's Cup, Countess Luann, A Thing of New York, an orchid, Chaz Dean candle, an olive tree. Anyways, don't make it more than it is. It's not that serious, people. Literally, last night, I scrolling TikTok and saw Bobby Boyd, who is so cute, live on TikTok. He used to go live on TikTok all the time, or Instagram, TikTok, I think it was. He would do videos of him making a drink, making recipes. Whoever was doing Bobby Boyd's social media, maybe it was himself, I don't know, was amazing. Like the videos were so good. He would just like show his house, which is gorgeous. And then all of a sudden it would pop and it would be all of his Christmas decorations would be out. I loved watching it. So he was on last night. He was making a peach margarita maybe with his boyfriend. And I'm scrolling and somebody, I'm liking the thing. So when you like a TikTok video or live, it will show up and say like Sarah from Texas podcast, like the live or whatever. Some username, all it says like user 54, you know, some whatever, was like, oh, y'all be careful what you say. Sarah the stalker is in here. So stupid. That narrative is so freaking dumb. There's nothing about me that is or ever has been a stalker. Anyways, so stupid. So stupid. So don't make it anything more than it is. Lenore says the first thing my father said when I told him I was pregnant was, I thought you didn't want kids. Well, not everyone that gets pregnant necessarily wants kids or wants them in that moment, right? I mean, that's true, Heather. Magazines pay. She should have done People Magazine. Yeah, Rachel, exactly. Sold her story. Us Weekly, People Magazine. You know what I mean? What? Oh my God, this is so ridiculous. JDNYK3 says, please be careful at the live show. People plan to get you kicked out. There's nothing I've ever done in my life that has ever got me kicked out of anywhere. And there's nothing that would ever get me kicked out. Like, that's so ridiculous. Ask Jeff, trust me, I wouldn't get kicked out. Anyways, and we're going to have so much fun in Irvine. So anyways, losers. Yeah, where are my keys? Be flattered these douchebags have you on their mind. Yeah, living rent free, whatever. Mean, sad humans. Yes, let them. Exactly. I love that word twats. Mabu says, please ignore them. They're twats. Love that word. Anywho, okay, onwards and upwards. Yes, they're hateful over there in the Facebook groups. I'm not in any of the Facebook groups except for the Sarah from Texas Facebook group. And I'm not on Reddit, never have in my life had a Reddit account. So I really don't see 99.9% of all the craziness. It's just ridiculous. Anyways, yeah. Ask Jeff. Anyways, okay. What else? Tom Sandoval. I just felt like he was so heartbroken over Rachel. The fact that they just would not mention the Facebook, the podcast of Bethenny, that was definitely a bravo, a production, a FU, because no way. There's probably people, because I watched reality TV for so long, listened to Jeff Lewis for about a year and a half before I ever knew there was Facebook fan groups, there was Instagram accounts, there was podcasts dedicated to chatting about things, recaps, never even knew of such a thing. So I'm sure there's people that are Vanderpump Rules fans that know nothing about Bethenny's podcast. They don't know. So they're watching the latest episode wondering, what the hell is this podcast they're all obsessed over? And yet they're not saying the name. So I do bet there's people, right? I feel like there are. Wait, is Amy from Nebraska here? Is that Amy from Nebraska from the phone calls? Did she finally find us? I hope so. That's the one that was saying, she called into Jeff Lewis and said, I'm going to the live show by myself. And I was like, no, find us. You know what I mean? Yes, for sure, Robin. Why does anyone have to say anything to Sarah about what dumb trolls are saying? Don't give it air. They're nobody, and they certainly don't need to mention it. So zip it. What upset me about earlier this week, I'll be honest, is that they were dragging two different friends of mine into some drama, acting like, oh, that I'm saying things about them. Oh, why is Sarah acting like she doesn't know who you are? I mean, it was so stupid, like absolute blatant lies. And so that just makes other people think, oh my God, maybe this about Sarah. I'm like, no, if you know me, if you watch me, if you've met me, make your own decision. Don't read about me what other people say that's fake. You know what I mean? Oh, welcome, Amy. It is her. I have a friend that spells her name Aimee also. Welcome, Amy. Don't y'all get excited when someone, I know if I had found a place to chat Jeff Lewis live a couple of years ago, I would have been so freaking excited. So I get so excited because I know how I felt. I wanted to like bounce the stories off and, talk about Jeff talking about his wiener on text and the dates and the, MJ and all the things. So I get so excited whenever somebody finds our Chumpette community for sure. Anyways, okay, let's move on. Okay, I watched the Vanderpump after show. I still like it. James is so angry on the after show about Tom and Rachel. I get it, but he and Rachel ended things, and I think 2 weeks later he was publicly bragging and dating Allie. So like you moved on very quickly, James. So why are you still so pissed off? I think it's because he and Tom Sandoval had this kind of big brother, little brother type thing going on. Don't forget, Tom like financed in planned a lot of the proposal at Rachella, right? So they were clearly very good friends. So I think James had kind of that, like, now you're cheating with my ex-girlfriend. All of Vanderpump Rules, that's all they ever do. They've all messed with everybody. You know what I mean? Like it's not a new idea. Anyways, but finally, Tom seems to get over the fact that Rachel is talking about how she never really loved him, kind of playing that part. And he finally says, good riddance. So I think it sounds like if this timeline was, I bet it was about August when Bethenny finally interviewed Rachel. So it was about then that, he finally realized he was going to get over it. You know what I mean? But they seem to all have hated the podcast. But I think I couldn't tell if Lisa Vanderpump listened to it. Like I almost felt like her being a housewife, the Bethenny, I felt like she didn't want to, she was just like, why are y'all obsessed over this? And they're like, oh yeah, then the next one comes out today. I'm going to listen to it. And she's like, don't even listen to it. Can you imagine telling Tom, don't listen to it? Like I would want to hear it for myself also. He had not had the luxury. I think that's the hardest thing is that Rachel was gone. They were communicating a little bit. And then it was just, they really had no conclusion. They really didn't like end the relationship. She just kind of did. So they really had no, and I think he figured, look, if we're going to go all in, remember when they finally showed Tom and Rachel in her apartment, she said something like, if we're going to do this, we're in it. Like we're not just playing around. We're not just cheating. Like if you're going to blow up the world, we're going to be together. And then somebody, I think Brittany, because they throw all the Valley people on to the after show to give their 2 cents, which is kind of weird. I think Brittany or somebody says, yeah, I mean, if Tom and Rachel would have gone on to get married and had kids, we'd all been like, okay, it was cheating. And then in 10 years, 5 years, we'd all almost forgotten about Scandival if they would have done that, but just kind of kept dragging on because they really had no ending. You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like, what is Rachel's career going to be? Like, is the podcast, like how much will that give her? How many years is that going to give her? You know what I mean? Hold on. I'm not sure what y'all are talking about. Oh, does Kyle even need money though? They're talking on TikTok about Kyle Richards getting money from People magazine. I mean, I don't even think Kyle Richards needs the money. Who knows? Anyways, okay, let's get into today's show. Jeff Lewis Live, Carney Wilson, Todd Lewis. Todd was so excited. Wasn't it just somebody just saying, when is Carrie and Todd going to be back on the main show? Well, clearly it means a lot even to Todd because he kind of bragged about it at the beginning. He says, did y'all hear him? This is on the main show where I make more money and I get free coffee. So I kind of wonder what they're paid on Jeff Lewis Extended. I don't know that we've heard. I guess I kind of always assumed they got paid $500 too. But that makes sense because let's see, this is April. It's almost been a year. Okay. The Jeff Lewis after show started last June. I remember because I was on vacation. So I remember where I was at. And then I don't know when it really made it. I think maybe February, it finally went to the Andy Cohen and they started selling commercials and ads. So now they make money. But I guess I thought now maybe they would be paid $500 for the co-host. Now I'm kind of curious. Or maybe Todd was wrong. Maybe Todd doesn't even know. Yes. Robin says, I love Todd and Carrie showing the girls and gays her sexy pics. LMAO. I mean, she does have nice boobs, and I kind of love it. How long they've been together? Like 20 something years, and she's still sending like booby pictures. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Wait, Mayboo. That's right. Wait, what? Mayboo lives in London. Clearly, that's where James and his family is from. She says, James is an idiot. His father was a best friend of my childhood sweetheart, the late George Michael. Oh, yeah, because George Michael is James's godfather, right? And he's an idiot too. Oopsie. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Christopher, saying hit the like button. Thank you. Oh, Anne says Sirius pays the wages for extended. How'd you hear that? I haven't heard that. I guess I always thought Jeff Lewis, I guess I always have thought, and I think I've heard him say that it's sort of like Howard Stern. Howard Stern gets like a bucket full of money, and then he pays his people out of that, but is like producer Gary, he's probably not paid. I just think the smaller people, like since Shane is on every day, I would almost assume he has a salary, like he's a serious XM employee. But I would think all the other co-hosts that come on are paid money by Jeff. I don't know. Now I'm sort of curious. Oh yeah, George Michael definitely is gone. He passed away. He sure did. Chris Guth says Sirius paid the after show, so they probably do pay the extended. Now I'm curious. I don't know. Yeah. Yes, Mayboo manifested it for sure. It was me asking about Todd and Carrie on the main show. Do you think I've manifested it? For sure. Okay, let's get into it. All the talk. Did it make you want Chipotle? I've got a Chipotle right down the road. I was like, oh my God. Like, how do they eat this brown rice, the white rice, the guacamole, the chicken, the steak? Like, how does Shane stay so skinny and hot? Like, seriously. We know Jeff is just not eating dinner, so he's just I love this term that Joey Zalzig uses, calorie deficit. It just means eat less, eat less calories. Sounds so easy when he says, oh, calorie deficit, work out once or twice a day. I'm like, oh my God. Yes, cats, coffee, and cocktails. I love that. The only actual employees are Alyssa, Jameson, Oscar, and Naya. And I almost feel like Oscar and Naya are part-time, right? Like Oscar's still in college. I'm assuming he'll be full-time eventually, but Oscar hasn't been talking as much. I love when Oscar like joins in, you know what I mean? I love that. I can't think of any Oscar chats lately. I'm assuming he'll be at the live event. That would be awesome. Anyways, yeah. Oh, Melanie. Wait, y'all always got the juice. James claims that George was his godfather, but a couple of those very close to George said they didn't even know who James is. The people in George's life in the latter years. But I mean, think about it. He could have been very close. Like, look at Jeff Lewis. Look at Monroe's godparents. Jeff is not close at all to Jenny Poulos anymore. He had his moments where he and Chaz Dean, who's his godfather, were not close. So, you know, maybe James's dad and George Michael were close. I think they were business partners, but clearly enough to be James's godfather, close when they were little, and then nobody remembers all that. And then maybe George Michael had different friends later in his life. You know what I mean? Good question. Do Naya and Jeff have a relationship like he has with Oscar and Jameson? I hear her talk. She sounds way more reserved. Don't you feel like? Like, I feel like she's not here for the bullshit. So I feel like when Jeff has an off-camera relationship with one of the people, then he feels comfortable bringing it on camera. So I feel like he and Naya, like, remember Naya will be like, he'll invite her to chump events, like inner chump events. And she's like, oh, I'm busy. Whereas Oscar's like, oh, no, I'm going. You know what I mean? Like, You see the people, the inner circle chumps, whether it's Naya, Oscar, Alyssa, Jameson, that show up at stuff. Like Oscar, I feel like lives far, and so he has to like go back to his side of town. So maybe that's why he doesn't come to certain things. But I feel like Naya just has. Oh, Naya has a. I did hear Naya was actually big on TikTok. What's her content about? I'm curious now. Um. Oh, thank you, Jules 71. I heard you call in on Friday. Yeah, was that Friday? Or a week ago? I don't even remember when it was. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Is Oscar an intern? I feel like he's part-time, but I don't really know. Yeah, what is Naya's TikTok name? Let me know. Somebody's asking about it on Instagram. Okay, let's get into it. Todd, for one thing, looks super slim and so professional. Did she slip in that she started taking like a Mounjaro or Ozempic? It sounded like she said she was taking a semaglutide. I felt like it was. Your accent sounded strong on the phone call. Oh God. I don't love the 90s trivia stuff. Todd won, but it's just not my jam. Okay, so Jeff talks about the guy that he met at Countess Luann. I don't remember the date. What is this? April? What was the date of? I feel like it was about 2-ish weeks ago. God, I'm so good with dates too. I can't remember when that was, but it feels like he met a guy. They hung out that night till like 1:45, 2 in the morning. They've talked on and off, but gone like days between. So Jeff wasn't like texting him back right away because he was like getting the vibe. This drives me nuts when people like text you back 2 days later. You're like, did you really not read it? Like, there's no way I could see a text pop up and just not. I just like to immediately respond to it. The only time is if I read something and then I go take a shower and then I think I texted back like in the shower or doing something else. And then I think I texted back, but I actually didn't. So this guy, they like, and Jeff had been talking about it. So this is where it gets interesting. He now tells us that guy is a listener of Jeff Lewis Live, which makes sense. Jules says, what's your Facebook group you can join? Sarah from Texas. So it's Sarah from Texas is the Facebook group. And we pretty much chat reality TV and Jeff Lewis and any kind of stuff like that. So they go back and forth. This is the guy that eventually sent him the shirtless picture of him about to take a hike. They kind of had this banter back and forth. Jeff didn't like the sunglasses that he was wearing, saying, I'm going to buy you new sunglasses. Then the guy texts back and says, when do you come back from, or are you back from Cabo? And Jeff's like, no, I'm still here. I come back tomorrow. So then Jeff waits 2 or 3 days and says, hey, it's Tuesday. I'm back from Cabo. Are you busy this weekend? The guy waits a couple of days and says, I don't think he said the guy's name, did he? Garrett? I don't know. It's an Amazon executive. I don't feel like he said the guy's name. Wait, is that the guy? I literally need a spreadsheet. I'm getting them all mixed up. So I might have said the guy's name wrong. There's someone he talked about being an Amazon executive that lives in like Minnesota, but he's in LA a lot. So was this the guy? Y'all tell me how you understood it, because now I'm getting worried. I'm mixing it all up. Jeff said ghost anyone. It's never okay. And now the guy said, he emailed or texted back and said, I appreciate you being persistent, but I'm sort of getting serious with this other guy, so I need to like pull back a little bit. Jeff was like, the word persistent did not go over well with Jeff. I was dying. He goes on the after show with Jamie and MJ and starts off immediately like he's obsessed over getting this text. I want to pull back, but I appreciate you being persistent. Jeff's like, oh, hell no. Don't act like I'm a stalker. Don't act like I'm crazy-eyed. I'm like, it was crazy. Jeff was adamant. I think because he knows these people, he's mentioned several of the guys. I'm pretty sure if you meet Jeff Lewis and you start texting, you make out, you got some touching over the pants, as Jeff admitted they did in the car. You either start listening to Jeff Lewis, or if you didn't listen already, I think you start listening. And when he's talking about you, you're definitely going to be like comparing. You're going to be listening. Like I've said, it's one thing if you're like dating and Jeff's being open about that. Hey, I'm just being casual. I'm just dating other people. But when it's all put out on the radio, even if he doesn't say your name, even if none of your friends know that's who he's talking about, you know he's saying these things, the details about y'all's dates, or like you went on a date the night before and you think it was great, and then all of a sudden he talks about meeting some dude at High Tops and making out. Even if you think it's casual, I have to think people would be like, oh, hell no, because it's now public on the radio, right? Like, don't you think that would affect things? It's almost like if that was going on and then somebody was like putting all those details out on their public Facebook and you were reading it, but on radio, worldwide radio, all those details, that would definitely affect things. I think that's why he and Chef Stu were a very good fit, because we know Gage was super not into the radio, and then he was part of the radio. We know that Scott was adamant about not being part of the radio. He didn't like that. Stu never cared. I think Stu knew some things were maybe for radio. I think when they had issues about boundaries, they would both talk about it. When Jeff would cross a boundary, it seemed like Stu, and even Jeff would say, we had a boundary, I crossed it. We've talked about it. But, Stu and Jeff were both in the business. They both understood sometimes things are said and it's maybe not great for a relationship, but it's really good for radio, which is really good for ratings, which is really good for money. Money is really good for, it's all like I don't know. That's amazing. Besides, they were so stinking cute together. They're both so handsome. I do feel like Chef Stu and Jeff, like Jeff has got to find, so as much as he says he wants like a normie, someone with a regular job type, I don't know. I don't think that's going to work. It might work for Jeff. It ain't working for the other guys, clearly. You know what I mean? Oh, that makes sense. Generation. I love that name. If you met at Countess Luann's show, he's probably a listener of Jeff Lewis. That absolutely makes sense. That makes sense. Wendy Cindy Gal says, I think they miss each other. I wonder, as much fun, as much drama as Jeff has said he likes, a little bit of drama, a little bit of everything, a little bit of spiciness in a relationship. I think that's what he's getting from these texts. Like, it's giving him radio content. It's keeping him on his toes. Like, some he seems to text back really fast with. This guy, he was kind of taking his lead and like, oh, if this guy isn't going to text me back for 2 days, if he's going to act like he had no cell reception in North Carolina, then I'm not going to text back for a couple of days. I don't think that's what Jeff likes. I don't think he likes that whole game playing, though. And I think he's, Jameson has taught him a lot about just text when you want to. Like, don't do this whole wait a couple of days because the other guy waited a couple of days, right? Oh, Tea with Tambo. I haven't seen anything, but I wouldn't even know where that stuff was at. Jennifer Lopez is getting dragged online. Has J-Lo said anything publicly? She's getting dragged online about the Kyle Marissa Roth passing on TikTok. Lots of outlets reporting this, some videos on YouTube as well. I've definitely seen some YouTube videos. I saw one yesterday, I think, where somebody pulled up a video of Kyle talking about taking just April 5th, I think it was. So very soon before her passing, apparently. Talking about she was promoting a sleep aid that she was using, and that it was recommended to take 2 pills. And she said she's taking 10 pills to get her to go to sleep. So anyways, I don't know what will come out about that, but either way, it's just, obviously horrific. And it really affected me because I don't know, I just watched her all the time. So I knew everything that was going on with her account being taken away. I knew what she was saying about I guess J-Lo turning in her account for her and other people's accounts for copyright material. You know what I mean? Krista, she says, how does J-Lo even know who that poor girl is? She had almost 700,000 followers on TikTok, so she was huge. I doubt if J-Lo is not a huge TikTok watcher, then she probably never would, but I'm sure her team people would tell her. Do I feel like some celebrities? I've definitely heard of Bravo celebrities that are way more hands-on with their content and what people say about them. We know Heather McDonald pays attention to it all. One of the things she walked up to me and said at the VIP room at BravoCon about the show the night before her live show, where she had brought out this appraisal about the earrings, she was like, why haven't you made a video about the earrings? And I'm like, oh my God, literally, I'm at BravoCon. This is less than 24 hours later. Like, she is like, I know exactly who you are. I watch your stuff. There are definitely people that pay attention personally to content about themselves. They might follow the hashtags on their name. If they're a Real Housewives of New York person, they might follow, the Roni hashtag, things like that. So there's definitely people that do, but the story out there by a lot of TikTok creators was that J-Lo didn't like anything being said or any use of her documentary, because they were also putting it down that her tour was not going well. So I have no idea. We obviously may never know the full story, right? If she hadn't told somebody directly what was going on or left in, we may never know what anything happened. J-Lo is a business. Absolutely. Sure. Mindy's Vegan Alkaline Life says, I watched Heather McDonald today and she had no idea who Kyle Marissa Roth was. I'm kind of surprised because it's in the news, not, news, but like TMZ, People Magazine, Page Six, things like that. And clearly I would think for Heather's job and her personal, you know what I mean? Like I would watch all that stuff and pay attention to it, whether or not I did a daily show about it. You know what I mean? So anyways, yeah, it's definitely a business, for sure. Oh, Mabu says, Heather McDonald talked about it today. Might be me, but she didn't seem very sympathetic, very oh well attitude. Well, and if you didn't have, if you didn't watch Kyle Marissa Roth like I did, it won't affect you as much at all, right? Because it's kind of like another person that passed away. But, at the basic level, she was a 36-year-old, person, and that's just way too young to pass away. So anyways, okay, we are going a little bit late, but let's keep chatting about Jeff's wiener. Oh my God. So he's very clear he doesn't send pictures of himself, but he's talking about sexting with people. And I'm like, wait a minute, how was she? No, that's not the anorexic person. That is another name. That's a person that's not on. I've been wondering where she's at too. I wonder where that girl is though. I did just catch, I'm obsessed with these TikTokers. Pearl Cooley, who is the ain't nothing but a hound dog girl that used to have really bright blonde hair. She lived in San Diego. She would ask people to hold your phone. She'd be like, it's already recording. And she would crawl up to people, like on the beach mostly, or restaurants, and be like, ah, and start running after them. She was live last night on TikTok. So I have seen her a couple of times. Also, Aunt Dodo from, I think she's live 24/7. I feel like she said she goes live every day. I just happen to see her whenever she's live. From Mama Boo Boo, Mama June, Mama Boo Boo, Honey Boo Boo, Mama June, Family Crisis. That aunt, Eugenia, yes. Oh no, I don't feel like Kyle Marissa Roth was anorexic at all. Matter of fact, she talked about losing weight and how she had lost weight and stuff. So, anyways, Brandy and Julie watch your show? Hey, girls. I wouldn't think so. Anyways, okay. Jeff talking about his wiener. So he describes it. This is probably common. I mean, clearly I wouldn't know. I'm married to a man for, a long time. Like, I'm not in the dating world, but I do think the dating world is different for gay men. So, but he gives his measurement, the girth, and then they talk about whether they're circumcised or not. I don't know. Jameson really gave a lot of insight. He said there are whole communities of the gay community that only want to date a circumcised person, or people that will not date a circumcised man. It's fascinating. There was definitely some fun calls that called in. Who is Claude, though? This caller calls in and asks if Jamie is still butthurt. The term butthurt was used a lot when he and Amanda McCants had their like on air cry fest argument, whatever. And then remember the next week, within a couple, I'm forgetting, it was so long ago. They came back on. It was super awkward, and they were talking about being butthurt about that. And then this caller called in about something about MJ and something about Jamie being upset, butthurt about MJ. I didn't even know what she was talking about. They did seem a little off a time or two together that they were on. Like they just seemed to have a little off-air tiff, something about the coffee and stuff. I know. Lenore Love says Claude is a comedian who did a show with Jamie last week. But Jamie was saying, I love Claude. We have no whatever. So is this person like friends with Claude? I just couldn't figure out what they were talking about. Oh my God. Melanie says, I'm sorry, I'm just too old for this much detail. This was merciful during my car issue, so I missed out on the dick talk. It was a lot. And then after that, MJ somehow brings up, I did post her Till the Dirt podcast. The one I found, today is April 18th. They usually come out every Monday. They've had one from April 1st. That's the only one I could find in the description that said that she was going to give an update on her and Tommy's marriage. So that's the one I posted. But then they've had another one since May 8th or April 8th, but said it was like a part 2 of some interview with some guy. So I figured that was the one. That wasn't the one, right? But she almost seemed, which makes sense from a business point of view, right? She was leading people to go listen to Till the Dirt. And she was acting like she didn't want to make it all about her. And even Jeff was like, well, you're a chump. The show is about you. Like, if you're going to talk like she did recently and kind of very much allude that she and Tommy are having marital issues, we all want an update. But if she's going to save it for Till the Dirt podcast to lead us up, that makes sense. But it was just kind of confusing, right? I did hear that. Oh my God. Yeah, it's so stupid. Yeah, I'm not even going to read that. All the nonsense about me. Yeah, Maybu says, I'm 51, and as much as I would like to be younger, I'd hate all this social media and being constantly on the phone. I miss the phone calls and just 5 channels on the TV sometimes, simple times. Well, and remember when TV went off at like midnight? Like it was just off. It was just like, you know what I mean? And you had to like turn the TV. Now it's like there's always social media. It's always on. You can always watch something or listen to a podcast. There's 500 or more channels on cable and satellite, and streaming is nonstop. You know what I mean? Anyways. Are there bad comments? Am I missing something? Robin says, I'm reporting any bad comments, Sarah. Thank you. On most social media, by the way, maybe even Reddit. I don't know if Reddit even cares, but on FaceTime, no, not FaceTime. Somewhere, Instagram, there's like dots in the upper right-hand corner of a post or a comment. And if something's bad, you can always report it and then let the social media decide if it should stay or not. So anyways. Yeah. Stony says it's global, 24/7. Everyone is watching from everywhere. Although I do think there's countries that limit TV. I feel like, and maybe even social media, right? The US clearly is not one of them, though, right? Oh, that's on the description. So Love and Live says, I wonder what MJ thinks of the lawsuit against Mike from Shaws of Sunset, the domestic abuse lawsuit from his ex. That's in the description of either the Till the Dirt podcast that I put up on my Instagram story, or it's a different episode that I saw for sure. I mean, you're not wrong, Krista. Krista says America has done a horrible job at protecting children from social media. I mean, children, obviously, because well, they're not mature enough, but I would say adults too, right? I saw a comment earlier that said, I think a lot of creators are unhappy. It is very easy to get bogged down. The very little stuff I see about me, the negative nonsense, but I also don't search it out, right? But sometimes I'm trying to respond to other comments and I see negative, crazy stuff. And so you see it regardless, but I don't search it out. Like I'm not a member of the insanely cruel Jeff Lewis Facebook groups. I'm not a member of Reddit. You know what I mean? So I can't even imagine. But sometimes, yeah, you just see it and you can see 100 really nice things, normal, just chatting like, what did you think of the show? Or like, I think this about Roni, or I think this about Real Housewives of OC, just normal stuff I want to chat about. And you see one or two awful things and you just feel like, oh my God, like the lies and the rhetoric that's out there. And you just want to, respond to it all. And then you realize that's all those losers want is you responding to it. That's all they want is a tiny bit of attention. So anyways, you just have to have self-control. And a lot of times kids and less mature people don't have self-control with social media. So it's definitely worse on kids for sure. But I would venture to say social media is, I think they've done studies. I think it's negative on a lot of people, adults and everything. As much good as can come out of it is definitely a lot of negative for sure. Yes, Lenore Line says, I've told you that crazy person from the nice group dragged me online. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely mean people in every group for sure. And I think for me, sometimes I'm reading a comment and I'm trying to figure out how they mean it. You know what I mean? Like I agreed with what MJ said is a lot of times she said she picked up the phone to call Shane recently because she felt like it wasn't going to come across well on text. So I agree with that. Like I would definitely not want to have a texting only relationship with people. I definitely sometimes voice text or voice memo. First of all, it's quicker. You can walk around the house and do it. So anyways, okay. Yes, Melanie says, y'all come play with us over on Facebook. We have a blast chatting about all the related reality TV gossip. Yeah, so join the Sarah from Texas Facebook group. It is fun. Yeah, people are definitely nutty. Okay, well, we are going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining live. It is so much fun to chat with y'all every weekday, 3 p.m. Eastern. Everything on my social media is under Sarah from Texas. Join the Facebook group, Sarah from Texas. If you are going to the May 30th event, look under the Sarah from Texas Facebook group, and then there's an event button, and there's already an event up there where we are chatting what hotel we're staying at, what restaurant we're going to go to, the night you have drinks, the night before the May 30th Spring Fling event. Now I kind of want to go to Chipotle for dinner, which I'm so not opposed to. I've called Javier's a couple of times and looking for the private room. They only fit 15 in it. So we would have to make sure, only 15 people could make it. But I'm sure there's sure we could do dinner there, the 15 that want to, and then we could meet for a drink afterwards, or, we can make it work. So anyways, I'm trying to get that together, but the manager was supposed to call me back and they haven't yet. So anyways, also, if you don't have a ticket for the May 30th event, join the Sarah from Texas Facebook group or any of those. There's a lot of much bigger Facebook groups about Jeff Lewis. You might get more, but people will always have to sell a ticket at the last minute. I've seen this with the November 2021 Burbank show of his. I've seen this with the December Hollywood show of his, people always have to sell a ticket or buy a ticket last minute. So make plans. I think a friend in Houston is maybe going to buy a ticket from somebody else and fly out with me. So that'll be so fun. But just if you didn't get a ticket, it is sold out, but there are other people to buy a ticket from. Just be sure of scammers. Like I can't be in control of like matching up people and what have you. So thank you, Jules. She said, thank you, Sarah. Brightens my day. It is so fun. I love that y'all have met each other. A lot of you have met in person. Y'all chat over DM. Y'all made friends on social media. I love it. It is the best thing ever. So y'all are what keep me going and keep me like pushing down the negativity and just trying to ignore that, because I do love so much that we have built a community of awesome people that really do just love chatting reality TV and Jeff Lewis, right? So anyways, okay. See y'all later. Bye, Chumpettes.